Have you ever faced a problem that felt absolutely overwhelming? A situation so daunting, so complex, that it seemed to blot out the sun, leaving you paralyzed, staring at an unmovable mountain? We all have. And in those moments, it's easy to believe that the problem itself is the true adversary. But what if I told you that often the real enemy isn't the obstacle itself, but how we choose to see it? What if the fog isn't around the mountain, but in our own minds? In his transformative book, The Obstacle is the Way, Ryan Holiday opens with a profound challenge: to choose to see clearly. This isn't just about wishing problems away, it's about a radical shift in perspective that can disarm even the most formidable challenges. And it all begins with how we perceive. Chapter 1 lays down the foundational stone of Stoic wisdom. Perception is a choice. It's not the events themselves that disturb us, but our judgments about them. As the Stoics taught, we are not disturbed by things, but by the views we take of them. Think about that for a moment. Two people can experience the exact same setback, say a business deal falling through or a project getting cancelled. One might crumble under the weight of despair, seeing it as the end of their world. The other might see it as an unexpected opportunity, a chance to pivot, to learn, to grow. What's the difference? Not the event, but their perception of it. This chapter teaches us that we possess an incredible superpower: the ability to control our inner world, our thoughts, and our interpretations regardless of external circumstances. It's the difference between being a slave to external events and being the master of your own mind. We don't control what happens to us, but we absolutely control what happens inside us. Let's dive deeper into how this choice of perception plays out in real life, using a few powerful examples. Example 1. The inventor's failures. Thomas Edison. Consider Thomas Edison. When he was trying to invent a practical light bulb, he famously failed thousands of times. If his perception had been, "This is a failure, I'm simply not capable," he would have given up. Instead, he perceived each unsuccessful attempt not as a failure, but as a discovery of one way that won't work. Visual. A drawing or old photograph of Edison in his lab, perhaps with multiple failed prototypes. Host. He reframed the situation entirely. The obstacle, the thousands of unsuccessful experiments, became the path to understanding. His clarity of perception allowed him to extract valuable data from each supposed failure, ultimately leading to success. He wasn't seeing a setback, he was seeing progress, albeit slow and iterative. That's a profound shift. From "this isn't working" to "I'm learning what doesn't work." Example 2. Viktor Frankl and the concentration camp. For a far more harrowing example, consider Viktor Frankl, the psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor. In the unimaginable horrors of a concentration camp, where every external freedom was stripped away, Frankl realized the one thing no one could take from him was his freedom to choose his attitude, his perception. Visual. A somber image, perhaps a silhouette of a person looking at barbed wire, or a symbolic representation of inner strength. Host. He chose to perceive his suffering not as meaningless torment, but as an opportunity to find meaning, to observe human nature, and to develop his theory of logotherapy. He chose to look for purpose amidst despair. His clear perception, forged in the crucible of extreme suffering, saved his sanity and gave him a mission that outlived his captors. This isn't about ignoring pain, it's about choosing your response to the pain. Example 3. Modern business and market shifts. Let's bring this into the modern business world. Imagine a small business owner whose primary product is suddenly rendered obsolete by new technology or a shift in market trends. Visual. A graph showing a sudden drop, then an upward curve. Or an image of an old technology being replaced by a new one. Host. One owner might perceive this as a catastrophic loss, lamenting what was, and clinging to outdated models until bankruptcy. Another might perceive it as a clear signal, a harsh one, yes, but a signal nonetheless, to innovate, to adapt, to pivot. They might see an opportunity to retool, to enter a new market, or to leverage their existing skills in a different way. The obstacle, obsolescence, becomes the impetus for change. Their clear perception allows them to detach from the past and focus on the future. So, how do we cultivate this superpower of clear perception in our own lives? It's not always easy, especially when emotions run high. But it is a practice, a muscle we can strengthen. 1. The pause and the question. When faced with an obstacle, your immediate knee-jerk reaction is often emotional. Before you react, pause. Take a breath. Then ask yourself, what am I choosing to believe about this situation right now? Is this interpretation serving me? Visual. A clock pausing, a thought bubble with a question mark. Host. For example, if you get a harsh email from your boss, your first thought might be, They hate me, I'm going to get fired. The pause allows you to challenge that. Is there another way to see this? Perhaps they're stressed, perhaps it's a miscommunication, perhaps it's constructive criticism delivered poorly. Choosing a different perception can save you hours of unnecessary anxiety. 2. Separate fact from opinion. This is crucial. Write down the objective facts of the situation. What actually happened? Then write down your subjective opinions, judgments, and emotions about what happened. Visual, 2 columns, facts, and interpretations with examples. Host, I received a low performance review, is a fact. My boss thinks I'm incompetent and my career is over, is an opinion. By separating them you regain control. You can work with the facts. Opinions often just spiral. 3. Zoom out and zoom in. Zoom out, how significant will this problem be in 5 years? In 1 year? Often, current crises shrink when viewed through a wider lens. This brings perspective. Zoom in, what is the absolute smallest actionable step I can take right now? Sometimes, the enormity of the problem is paralyzing. Focusing on the next tiny step breaks the paralysis. If your business is struggling, zooming out might reveal that market cycles are normal. Zooming in might reveal that the next step is simply to call one potential new client. 4. Consider the opposite. What if this bad thing is actually good in disguise? What if this setback is precisely what you needed to push you in a better direction? Visual, a visual metaphor for opposite, like a coin flip or a yin-yang symbol. Host, losing that job might force you to start the business you always dreamed of. A failed relationship might open the door to a more fulfilling one. This isn't naive optimism. It's a deliberate mental exercise to broaden your perceptual framework. Now, it's important to clarify what choosing to see clearly is not. This isn't about toxic positivity or ignoring reality. 1. It's not denying reality or emotions. Stoicism doesn't ask us to be emotionless robots. It recognizes that fear, sadness, and anger are natural human responses. The goal isn't to suppress these feelings, but to acknowledge them and then prevent them from dictating our actions or distorting our perception of the situation. You can feel sad about a loss and still choose to perceive it as an opportunity for growth. 2. It's not blind optimism. This isn't about saying, everything will be fine, when clearly it might not be. It's about facing reality head-on with courage and objectivity. It's about understanding the situation for what it is, stripped of emotional baggage and false narratives so you can respond effectively, not just react emotionally. 3. It's not blaming yourself or others unfairly. Clear perception means understanding your role, but also acknowledging external factors without falling into a victim mentality or unfairly blaming others. It's about taking responsibility for your response, not necessarily for the cause of every obstacle. 4. It's not easy or instant. Cultivating clear perception is a lifelong practice. There will be days when you fall back into old patterns, when emotions hijack your reason. The key is consistent effort, patience, and compassion for yourself. Each time you manage to pause, question, and reframe, you strengthen that mental muscle. So, as we wrap up our dive into Choose to See Clearly, remember this fundamental truth. You have far more control than you think you do. You might not control the events that unfold around you, but you are the absolute sovereign of your own mind, your own interpretations, your own perception. The next time an obstacle appears, before you let panic or despair set in, take a breath. Ask yourself, what are the objective facts here? What is my immediate, emotional interpretation? Can I choose a different, more empowering way to see this? How would someone I admire, someone who embodies resilience, perceive this? Ryan Holiday's profound insight reminds us that our perception can be either our greatest weakness, allowing us to be crushed by external events, or our greatest strength, turning every obstacle into an opportunity for growth, learning, and action. The choice is always, always yours. Thank you for joining me on this journey into the wisdom of The Obstacle is the Way. In our next video we'll explore Chapter 2, Control Our Emotions, building directly on this foundation of perception. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss it. Until next time, choose to see clearly and make your perception your power.